I never thought I'd find myself digging through my parents' office at midnight, but desperation makes you do crazy things. The dim light from my phone barely illuminated the stacks of papers as I searched for my college acceptance letter. Mom had misplaced it earlier that day, right after I'd mentioned needing their financial information for my student aid application. My name is Cal, and until tonight, I'd been the perfect daughter, quiet, obedient, and painfully invisible next to my golden boy brother Jasper. The drawer creaked as I pulled it open, making me freeze. Down the hall, my parents' steady snoring continued. I let out a breath and kept searching. That's when I saw it, a thick envelope with my grandparents' return address postmarked 3 months ago. Strange. I hadn't received anything from them recently. My hand shook as I opened the envelope. Inside was a letter and what looked like legal documents. The first line made my stomach drop. "Dearest Callahan, we want you to know about the education fund we've set up for you." Education fund? What education fund? I kept reading, my vision blurring as I took in the details. $20,000 specifically earmarked for my college education. The letter was dated well before my college acceptance, back when I was still trying to convince my parents that university was worth considering. "We know your dreams are bigger than the small-town life your parents envision," my grandmother wrote. "This money is yours to use, no strings attached." The documents showed everything: account numbers, transfer details, signatures. But I'd never seen a penny of it. My parents had received this months ago and never said a word. A floorboard creaked behind me. "What are you doing in here?" I spun around to find my mother in her silk robe, arms crossed. The letter crinkled in my tight grip. "When were you going to tell me about this?" My voice came out steadier than I expected. She glanced at the paper and something flickered across her face. Guilt, maybe? Disappeared so fast I might have imagined it. "That money is being put to better use," she said, reaching for the letter. "Your brother's new business venture. You gave my college fund to Jasper?" The words felt like glass in my throat. "Keep your voice down," she hissed. "This is what's best for the family. Jasper has real potential, and I don't." "Don't be dramatic, Callahan. You can take classes at the community college like we discussed. Jasper needs this investment for his future, for his engagement to Serena. You understand that, don't you?" I looked at my mother, really looked at her. Her perfectly styled hair, even at midnight. The way she held herself like she was always being photographed for the local society pages. Everything had to be perfect in her world, and somehow I'd never quite fit into that picture. "No," I said quietly. "I don't understand at all." I folded the letter and slipped it into my pocket before she could grab it. "I'm calling Grandma and Grandpa in the morning." "You will do no such thing." Her voice had that sharp edge I knew too well. "This is a family matter, and it's been decided." "You're right about one thing," I said, moving past her toward the door. "It is a family matter. And Grandma and Grandpa are family too. Callahan Reed, if you walk out that door..." I didn't hear the rest. I was already halfway down the hall, my heart pounding with a strange mix of anger and something else, freedom maybe. For the first time in my life, I saw my mother clearly, and with that clarity came a decision. I wasn't going to be invisible anymore. Grandma Maeve's guest room felt more like home after just 3 days than my old bedroom ever did. The morning sun streamed through lace curtains as I unpacked the last of my clothes, trying not to think about the dozen missed calls from my mother. The sound of china clinking downstairs drew me to the kitchen, where Grandma was setting out her good tea service. She looked up with that knowing smile of hers. "Your mother's coming over," she said, placing a third cup on the tray. "Thought we might need the fancy cups for this one." My stomach clenched. "How did she..." "Small town, sweetheart. The Martha from the grocery store saw you helping your grandfather with the groceries yesterday." She paused, adjusting a napkin. "Your mother wasn't pleased to hear it from her instead of us." "Of course. Heaven forbid the town gossips catch wind of any Reed family drama before my mother could control the narrative." Right on cue, the doorbell chimed. Grandma squeezed my hand before going to answer it. I heard them in the foyer, my mother's practiced laugh, the click of her heels on hardwood. When they entered the kitchen, Mom was wearing her charity board smile, the one that never quite reached her eyes. "Callahan," she said, as if we were meeting at a garden party. "This little tantrum has gone on long enough, don't you think?" "Lila," Grandma's voice carried a warning. "That's not why we're here." "You're right, Mother." Mom sat primly at the kitchen table. "We're here because my daughter is being unreasonable about family obligations." Unreasonable? I couldn't help but laugh. "You stole my college fund and gave it to Jasper. How is that reasonable? We redistributed family resources where they would do the most good." She stirred her tea with precise movements. "Your brother's business venture will benefit everyone. The connections he's making through Serena's family alone." "I don't care about connections." Teacup rattled as I set it down too hard. "I care about my future. The one you decided wasn't worth investing in. The community college has perfectly adequate programs." "That's enough." Grandma's voice cut through the tension. She turned to my mother. "Lila, do you remember when you were 18? When you wanted to study art in Paris?" Mom's hand froze mid-stir. "That was different." "Was it?" "'Cause I remember a young woman with dreams bigger than this town, who cried for days when her father said no." Grandma leaned forward. "You swore you'd never do that to your own children." "I grew up," Mom snapped. "I learned what really matters. Kata security." "Living someone else's life?" I asked quietly. The look she gave me could have frozen hell. "You have no idea what sacrifice means. What it takes to maintain a family's position in society. Your father and I have worked too hard to let you throw away everything on some foolish dream of independence." "The only thing foolish here," Grandma said, "is thinking you can control your children's lives forever." Mom stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. "I see you've both made up your minds. But remember this, Callahan, actions have consequences. If you insist on this path, don't expect any support from your father and me." "You mean like the support you've already shown by stealing my college fund?" She flinched just slightly, but I saw it. For a moment, something flickered in her eyes, regret maybe, or fear. Then it was gone, replaced by that perfect mask again. "I'll see myself out," she said, turning toward the door. She paused, not looking back. "Your brother's engagement dinner is Saturday. The whole town will be there. It would look better if you attended." After she left, I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. Grandma wrapped an arm around my shoulders. "Well," she said, "that went about as well as expected." "I don't understand her," I whispered. "How can she just? Your mother lost herself a long time ago, trying to be what everyone else wanted." Grandma picked up the untouched teacups. "The question is, are you ready to fight for who you want to be?" I thought about the engagement dinner, about facing the whole town while playing happy families, about Jasper, who probably had no idea what our parents had done. "Yes," I said. "I think I am." Country club ballrooms sparkled with champagne flutes and fake smiles. I adjusted my thrift store dress, feeling like an imposter among the designer labels and pearl necklaces. Jasper's engagement dinner was exactly the kind of event my mother lived for, all surface shine and strategic social positioning. "Cal!" Jasper's voice cut through the murmur of conversation. He weaved through the crowd, Serena by his side. "You came." "Wouldn't miss it," I lied, accepting his hug. Close, I noticed the shadows under his eyes, poorly concealed. Serena squeezed my hand. "I'm so glad you're here. Jasper's been worried sick since he left home." Before I could respond, Mom materialized beside us, perfect smile firmly in place. "Darling, the Walshes want to discuss the wedding venue." "And Callahan," her voice cooled several degrees, "your father needs a word." Dad waited by the bar, nursing what I knew wouldn't be his first scotch of the evening. His shoulders were tight under his expensive suit. The prodigal daughter returns, he said, not looking at me. Dad, your mother tells me you're being difficult about the wedding arrangements. I blinked. What arrangements? Don't play dumb, Callahan. The loan paperwork needs your signature. The Walshes are contributing significantly, but we need to match their investment to maintain appearances. What loan paperwork? He finally turned to me, irritation clear in his expression. The papers we discussed last week about using your trust fund as collateral. Your mother said she explained everything. The room tilted slightly. My trust fund? The one Grandma and Grandpa set up for my education? The one you and Mom already gave to Jasper? Dad's face reddened. Keep your voice down. This isn't the place. When is the place? My voice shook. When you forged my signature. When you've stolen even more of my future. Everything we do is for this family's future, he hissed. Your brother's marriage to Serena will secure our position. Your position, I corrected. Not mine. Never mine. A sharp laugh escaped me, drawing curious glances from nearby guests. You know what's funny? I came tonight hoping there was still something worth saving. But you're still trying to take what little I have left. You're being melodramatic. Is everything all right? Jasper appeared beside us, frowning. Perfect timing, I said, turning to my brother. Did you know about my trust fund? The one funding your new business? Jasper's confusion seemed genuine. What trust fund? The education fund from Grandma and Grandpa. Mom and Dad redirected it to your business venture months ago. And now they want me to take out a loan for your wedding. Color drained from Jasper's face. He turned to our father. Dad, this isn't the time or place. When is? I demanded again, louder this time. Heads turned. Mom appeared, panic flickering behind her perfect mask. Callahan, you're making a scene. No, Mother. I'm finally speaking up. I faced the growing crowd of onlookers. You want to talk about family obligations? Let's talk about how you stole my college fund. How you're trying to force me into debt for a wedding I can't afford. How everything in this family revolves around keeping up appearances while you tear us apart from the inside. That's enough. Dad grabbed my arm. Jasper stepped between us. Let her go. The room fell silent. Mom's carefully constructed world cracked visibly as whispers started. I'm done, I said quietly, pulling free. Done being the family's sacrifice. Done watching you destroy everything real in the name of appearances. I turned to Jasper. I'm sorry. I love you, but I can't watch this anymore. As I walked out, I heard Serena's voice behind me. Jasper, did you know about this? And then my brother's response, soft but clear. No. But I'm going to find out. Sighed in the cool night air, my hands shook as I texted Grandma to pick me up. The facade had finally cracked, and through that crack I caught a glimpse of something I hadn't expected, not just anger or revenge, but the possibility of truth setting us all free, even if it had to break us first. The email from Sterling and Associates lit up my phone screen at 3 a.m. I'd been obsessively checking since submitting my internship application last week, but now that the moment had arrived, my finger hovered uncertainly over the notification. Grandpa Arthur found me on the back porch an hour later, still staring at my unopened email. Can't sleep? He settled into the chair beside me, offering a steaming mug of cocoa. They offered me the internship, I said quietly. His face broke into a proud smile. That's wonderful news. It's in New York. Ah. He understood immediately. New York meant leaving everything behind, the town, the drama, the constant weight of family expectations. It meant really choosing myself for the first time. My phone buzzed. Jasper's name flashed on the screen. You should answer it, Grandpa said, squeezing my shoulder as he stood. Some bridges are worth keeping, even if others need to burn. I waited until he was inside before accepting the call. Hey, stranger, Jasper's voice was soft, careful. Got a minute? Sure. I've been doing some digging since the engagement dinner. He paused. There's more, Cal. More than just your trust fund. My stomach clenched. What do you mean? Mom and Dad. They've been using Grandma and Grandpa's money for years. Country club memberships, their social circle, my private school tuition, it all came from the Sterling Family Trust. They've been living on credit and appearances. Cocoa turned bitter in my mouth. How did you find out? Serena's father is a financial advisor. He's been helping me understand the business venture Dad wants me to take over. His voice cracked slightly. It's all smoke and mirrors, Cal. They're drowning in debt, and they're trying to use my marriage to Serena to save themselves. Pieces clicked into place. Mom's obsession with status, Dad's drinking, their desperate need to control everything and everyone around them. Does Serena know? Yes. He sounded tired. She's been amazing, actually. Wants me to walk away from all of it, start fresh. Are you going to? A long pause. I don't know. But there's something else you should know. Mom's planning to contest Grandma and Grandpa's trust. She's claiming they're mentally unfit to manage their own finances. The world tilted sideways. She can't do that. She's already filed the paperwork. That's why I'm calling. You need to warn them. My free hand clenched into a fist. When? The hearing's next week. Cal, I'm so sorry. I should have seen what they were doing sooner. The unopened email seemed to pulse on my screen. New York suddenly felt like both an escape and an abandonment. What are you going to do? I asked. I don't know, he repeated. But whatever happens, I want you to know I'm on your side this time. Really on your side. After we hung up, I finally opened the email. The internship offer was everything I dreamed of: prestigious firm, excellent pay, potential for permanent position after graduation. My ticket out. But Grandma and Grandpa's faces flashed in my mind. They'd taken me in, supported my dreams, given me back my sense of worth. And now my mother was trying to destroy them too. My fingers moved across the screen, typing out a response to Sterling and Associates. Thank you for the incredible opportunity. I need to request a delayed start date of 3 weeks. The sun was rising when Grandma found me still on the porch. One look at my face and she knew something was wrong. What is it, sweetheart? We need to talk, I said, standing up. All of us. And then we need to call a lawyer. She studied me for a long moment, then nodded. I'll put on some coffee. This sounds like a conversation that needs caffeine. As she turned to go inside, I caught her arm. Grandma, thank you. For everything. She smiled, but her eyes were sad. Family protects family, dear. The real kind of family, not the kind that just looks good in photographs. I looked down at my phone one last time, at the acceptance email in Jasper's text thread. Sometimes choosing yourself means choosing who to fight for. And sometimes revenge isn't about getting even, it's about getting free. Courthouse steps felt endless as I climbed them beside our lawyer, Sarah Chen. My mother's accusations of mental incompetence against my grandparents had spread through town like wildfire, exactly as she'd planned. Now everyone was choosing sides. Remember, Sarah said, adjusting her briefcase, let me do the talking. Your mother's lawyer will try to provoke an emotional response. Inside, Mom sat with her perfectly styled hair and designer suit, looking more like she was attending a charity luncheon than trying to destroy her own parents. Dad slouched beside her, already showing signs of a hangover. Grandma and Grandpa walked in with quiet dignity, holding hands. The sight of them made my throat tight. All rise, the bailiff called. The hearing started with Mom's lawyer painting a picture of elderly confusion and financial mismanagement. He presented bank statements showing large withdrawals, my college fund, conveniently omitting that my parents had redirected it to Jasper's business. Then came the character assassination. We have multiple witnesses, Mom's lawyer declared. who can testify to Callahan Reed's manipulation of her grandparents, taking advantage of their declining faculties for her own financial gain. My hands clenched under the table. Sarah touched my arm in warning. Furthermore, he continued, Mrs. Reed has evidence that her daughter has a history of emotional instability and poor decision-making. A manila envelope appeared. Inside were printouts of private text messages between Jasper and me discussing our parents' financial schemes. Messages I thought were secure. Mom's face remained perfectly composed, but I caught the slight upturn of her lips. She'd been monitoring our phones all along. The judge reviewed the documents while my stomach churned. Then he asked the question that changed everything. Where is Jasper Reed? These messages indicate he has relevant testimony. My son is unavailable, Your Honor, Mom said smoothly. He's focused on his upcoming wedding and new business venture. Courthouse doors opened. Actually, Jasper's voice rang out, I'm right here. He walked in with Serena beside him, both in professional attire. Mom's mask cracked for the first time as her golden child approached the bench. Your Honor, Jasper said, I have documentation proving that my parents have been systematically draining my grandparents' accounts for years, using the money to maintain their social status while accumulating massive debt. Mom's lawyer jumped up. Objection. This is irrelevant to the competency hearing. I'll allow it, the judge said, studying the new papers Jasper presented. I watched my mother's face as her carefully constructed world began to crumble. Her eyes darted between Jasper and me, calculating, searching for control. Jasper, she said, her voice honey-sweet. Sweetheart, you don't understand the complexity. I understand perfectly, he cut her off. I understand how you manipulated all of us. How you're trying to declare your own parents incompetent to cover up your financial fraud. How you monitored our phones and used our private conversations against us. The judge cleared his throat. Mrs. Reed, these allegations are serious. If verified, they could result in criminal charges. Mom stood abruptly. This is ridiculous. Everything I've done has been for this family. To maintain our position, our respect. No, I said, finally finding my voice. It was for your position, your respect, and you were willing to destroy everyone else to keep it. She turned to me, eyes blazing. You ungrateful little. That's enough, the judge interrupted. Based on the evidence presented, I'm dismissing the competency petition. Furthermore, I'm ordering a full investigation into the financial allegations. Mrs. Reed, Mr. Reed, I suggest you retain criminal defense counsel. As security approached my parents, Mom's perfect mask shattered completely. You'll regret this, she hissed at me. Both of you will regret choosing them over family. No, Mother, Jasper said quietly. We're choosing real family over appearances. There's a difference. Standing between my brother and my grandparents, I watched my parents being led to separate police cars. The victory felt hollow, tasting more like ashes than justice. You okay? Jasper asked. I looked at my phone, at the delayed internship acceptance, still waiting for a final answer. I will be. We all will be. Sometimes winning means losing everything you thought you needed, only to find what you really wanted was there all along. The bail hearing was set for Thursday, but Mom managed to get released early. Money talks, even when you're being investigated for financial fraud. I shouldn't have been surprised to find her waiting in Grandma's kitchen Tuesday morning, perfectly composed in her Chanel suit. We need to discuss the wedding, she said, as if the past week hadn't happened. Grandma stood protectively beside me. Lila, you shouldn't be here. It's my daughter's wedding, Mom replied smoothly. Of course I should be here. I'm not getting married, I said, confused. Her smile turned sharp. No, dear. Jasper's wedding. Though I suppose you wouldn't know the details since you've been so preoccupied with destroying our family. She pulled out a thick folder and placed it on the kitchen table. These are the loan documents you signed last year. The ones funding the wedding venue, the catering, everything. I never signed anything. Really? She spread out several papers, each bearing my signature. The bank seems to think otherwise. My blood ran cold as I examined the documents. The signatures looked real, perfect copies of my own handwriting. When did you? You left so many school permission slips lying around over the years, she said casually. It was simple enough to practice. Grandma reached for the phone. I'm calling Sarah. Go ahead, Mom said. But consider this, a fraud investigation will delay the wedding. Serena's family will withdraw their support. Jasper will lose everything he's worked for. Is that what you want, Callahan? To destroy your brother's happiness too? My hands shook as I looked at the loan amounts. Hundreds of thousands of dollars, all in my name. You're bluffing, I said, but my voice wavered. Am I? She stood, straightening her jacket. The Walsh family values reputation above all. One hint of scandal and they'll pull Serena out faster than you can say family shame. Just ask your father, he's already drinking himself to sleep over what you've done to us. What I've done? The words caught in my throat. You're the one who what? Protected this family? Maintained our position? Everything I did was for you children, and this is how you repay me. Her voice cracked, showing real emotion for the first time. You have until tomorrow to withdraw the fraud allegations. Otherwise, I submit these documents to the bank. After she left, I sank into a kitchen chair, the weight of her threat crushing my chest. We'll fight this, Grandma said firmly. Sarah will know what to do. My phone buzzed, a text from Jasper. Just heard from Mom. Is it true about the loans? Another buzz. Serena's parents are asking questions. They're talking about postponing everything. A third, Cal, please. I can't lose this too. I stared at the loan documents, at my forged signature repeated over and over. Mom had planned this perfectly, my word against hers, with Jasper's happiness as collateral damage. Cal. Grandma touched my shoulder. What are you thinking? I'm thinking about Jasper, I said quietly. About how he stood up for me in court. About how he's finally happy with Serena. This isn't your responsibility, isn't it? I looked up at her, feeling the weight of every decision that had led to this moment. Mom's right about one thing, the Walshes will run at the first sign of scandal. Jasper will lose Serena, his future, everything. And what about your future? Grandma demanded. Your internship? Your dreams? I touched the loan papers, tracing my forged signature. Maybe some dreams cost too much. My phone buzzed again, the internship coordinator asking for my final decision. Cursor blinked at me, waiting for a response that would either save my brother's happiness or preserve my own future. Sometimes the hardest choices aren't between right and wrong, but between two different kinds of sacrifice. And sometimes revenge isn't worth the collateral damage it leaves behind. I picked up my phone and started typing, knowing that whatever I decided, something irreplaceable would be lost. The church bells were already ringing when I pulled into the parking lot. Guests in designer suits and summer dresses filed through the heavy wooden doors while I sat in my car, staring at the manila envelope on the passenger seat. Inside was every piece of evidence Sarah had gathered, years of forged signatures, fraudulent accounts, and financial manipulation. Everything needed to bring my mother down once and for all, and destroy Jasper's wedding in the process. I grabbed the envelope and headed for the church's side entrance. The bridal suite door was ajar, voices drifting out. Can't reach the bank until Monday, Mom was saying. Everything's arranged, Jasper. Just trust me. Like I trusted you about Cal's college fund? I froze outside the door. Your sister made her choices, Mom replied smoothly. But today is about you and Serena. Don't let Cal's drama ruin this too. Drama? Jasper's voice cracked. You forged her signature, Mom. To put her in debt for my wedding without even telling me. I did what was necessary. No. Serena's voice now, sharp and clear. You did what was easy. Using Cal to fix your mistakes was easy. Lying to everyone was easy. I pushed the door open. Mom stood in her mother of the groom dress, perfect as always, while Jasper and Serena faced her in their wedding attire. Cal. Mom's smile didn't reach her eyes. I thought we had an understanding about today. We do. I held up the envelope. I'm here to make things right. By destroying your brother's wedding? How selfless of you. Actually, I turned to Jasper. I'm here to save it. I pulled out the bank documents, the real ones showing Mom's years of fraud. These prove everything. The forged signatures, the stolen money, all of it. Mom's mask cracked slightly. Callahan, think about what you're doing. I have. I handed the papers to Jasper. But there's something else you should see first. I produced a second document, my withdrawal from the fraud investigation, already signed and dated. What is this? Jasper asked. My surrender. I met Mom's startled gaze. You win, Mother. The investigation ends today. The loans stay in my name. Your reputation stays intact. Cal, no, Serena stepped forward. You can't. I can. And I will. I turned back to Mom. But here's what happens next. You're going to sign over your share of Grandma and Grandpa's trust to me. All of it. And you're going to leave them and me alone. Mom's laugh was brittle. Or what? Or these papers go to the police anyway. Maybe not today, maybe not this week, but someday. When you least expect it. You'll spend the rest of your life wondering when everything will fall apart. You wouldn't I? You taught me well, Mother. About leverage. About control. About using people's fears against them. The silence stretched between us, heavy with years of manipulation and hurt. Finally, Mom reached for her designer purse, pulled out a pen. You've become quite calculating, Callahan. I learn from the best. She signed the trust transfer with her perfect signature, her real one this time. As she handed it back, something flickered in her eyes. Pride? Regret? I couldn't tell anymore. The ceremony starts in 10 minutes, she said quietly. I should check on the guests. After she left, Jasper grabbed my arm. Cal, you can't do this. Those loans are worth it, I finished. Your happiness is worth it, but your future is still mine to choose. I smiled, feeling lighter than I had in weeks. Besides, I already accepted the internship. Turns out New York firms pay pretty well. Serena hugged me. You're something else, Cal Reed. Speaking of which, I pulled away, straightening Jasper's bow tie. Don't you two have a wedding to get to? As the music started playing and Jasper took his place at the altar, I slipped into a back pew. Mom sat in the front row, perfect posture, perfect smile, perfectly alone. Sometimes winning isn't about destroying your enemies. Sometimes it's about choosing which battles matter most and finding victory in letting go of the rest. 6 months after the wedding, New York felt more like home than our small town ever had. My apartment was tiny, but the view of the city lights made up for it. I was reviewing case files for tomorrow's meeting when my phone buzzed with Jasper's FaceTime call. Aunt Cal. Serena's voice came through first, followed by the image of her holding up a sonogram. Say hello to your future niece. Papers scattered as I sat up straight. A girl? When did you find out? This morning. Jasper appeared beside her, grinning. We wanted you to be the first to know. Have you told Mom and Dad? His smile faded slightly. No. And we're not going to, not yet. Dad's still in rehab and Mom, well, you know Mom. I did know. The last I'd heard, she was living in a smaller house across town, still attending charity functions but no longer running them. Queen had lost her crown, but she was hanging on to what remained of her kingdom. Grandma and Grandpa are coming for dinner, Serena said, changing the subject. They miss you. I miss them too. I glanced at my calendar, marked with upcoming court dates and client meetings. But this case is huge and nothing, Jasper cut in. Family dinner next weekend. No excuses. Family dinner. The words still made my stomach clench, even now. But when I looked at their faces, Jasper's quiet strength, Serena's warm smile, I realized the phrase had taken on a new meaning. Okay, I said. Next weekend. After we hung up, I found myself pulling out the letter that had arrived last week. Mom's perfect handwriting on expensive stationery, still unopened. The doorbell rang before I could change my mind about reading it. When I opened the door, Sarah Chin stood there, looking exactly as she had in the courthouse months ago. Your mother's contesting the trust transfer, she said without preamble. She can't. The paperwork was filed incorrectly. Deliberately, I suspect. Sarah's eyes narrowed. She played us, Cal. She knew all along there was a loophole. I should have felt angry, betrayed, ready for another fight. Instead, I found myself laughing. What's funny? Sarah asked. All of it. I picked up Mom's letter from the coffee table. She never cared about the money. She cared about control. About having one last card to play. So, what do you want to do? I broke the seal on the letter, finally reading my mother's words. Dearest Callahan, you've become everything I feared, strong enough to break free, brave enough to choose your own path. Everything I never was. Trust is yours if you still want it. But I hope you've learned what I never could, that true worth isn't measured in bank accounts or social standing. You won, darling. Not because you beat me, but because you chose to walk away. Mom. I handed the letter to Sarah. File a countermotion. Not to keep the trust, but to split it, half to Jasper's baby, half to a scholarship fund for local students. Are you sure? After everything she did. I'm sure. I looked out at the city lights, thinking of Jasper's daughter, of choices and consequences, of the difference between revenge and redemption. Some victories aren't about winning or losing. They're about choosing who you want to become. Later that night, I sent 2 texts. To Jasper, your daughter's trust fund is taken care of. Tell her Aunt Cal says welcome to the family. And after a long pause, to Mom, thank you for the letter. Coffee next weekend? Sometimes the hardest battles aren't fought with lawyers or evidence, but with the choice to break cycles instead of people. And sometimes the best revenge is simply living well on your own terms with the family you choose along the way.
The crystal flutes clinked with practiced precision as Father raised his glass, commanding attention from the 200 guests packed into our mansion's grand ballroom. His perfectly tailored Armani suit matched his perfectly crafted smile, both designed to hide what lurked beneath. I'm Chelsea, and this was the moment my family's carefully constructed facade began to crack. To Stewart Pharmaceuticals, Father announced, his voice carrying that signature authority that had closed billion-dollar deals. 25 years of saving lives, and to the next generation who will carry this legacy forward. His eyes found mine first, then shifted to my brother Ryan, who stood rigid beside me. I felt his hand trembling as he gripped his champagne glass. Don't, I whispered, but I already knew it was too late. I have something to say. Ryan's voice cracked through the murmuring crowd. Father's smile froze, a microscopic twitch in his left eye betraying his rage at the interruption. I'm leaving the company. The words fell like bombs in the silent room. I can't be part of an organization that puts profits over planet. Our manufacturing processes are destroying ecosystems, and I won't. That's enough. Father's voice cut through the air like a blade. We'll discuss this privately. No. Ryan stood straighter, his voice stronger. I'm done with private discussions that lead nowhere. I'm joining Environmental Defense tomorrow. The world needs to know. The crack of Father's hand against Ryan's face echoed through the ballroom. Gasps rippled through the crowd. My Aunt Sophie's lips curved into a slight smile, while her son Tom leaned forward, drinking in the spectacle. Security. Father's voice was deadly calm. Please escort my son out. Mark. Mother stepped forward, her designer dress rustling. Please, not like this. Be quiet, Lily. Father didn't even look at her. His eyes locked onto mine as two security guards led Ryan away. "Chelsea, my office. Now." I followed him through the maze of whispers and stares, past the imported marble columns and priceless art that decorated our home. The click of my heels against hardwood felt like a countdown to execution. His office door closed behind us with a soft click that somehow sounded more final than a slam. "You knew about this." It wasn't a question. "Ryan has his own mind, his own beliefs, which you encouraged." He moved behind his desk, every motion controlled. "Did you think I wouldn't notice the environmental books, the meetings with activists, the way you defended his ridiculous ideas at board meetings? They're not ridiculous. He's right about... He's a child playing at rebellion." Father's fist crashed onto his desk. "And you're supposed to be the responsible one, the heir. Instead, you've been undermining everything I've built." "Built on what?" The words escaped before I could stop them. "On buried research? On silenced whistleblowers? On reality," he snarled. "On understanding that progress requires sacrifice. Your brother chose his path tonight. Now you choose yours. Either you step up and become who you were born to be, or you follow him out that door. But understand this, there's no middle ground anymore." I stared at him. This titan of industry, this pillar of society, this stranger wearing my father's face. In his eyes, I saw the truth I'd been avoiding. Love was conditional, family was business, and power was the only currency that mattered. "Well?" He straightened his tie, already composing himself to return to the gala. "What's it going to be?" I opened my mouth to answer, but my phone buzzed. A text from Ryan. "I'm sorry, but I had to do it. Check your email. You need to see what I found in the Phase 3 trials." Father's eyes narrowed at my screen. "Choose carefully, Chelsea. Everything you are, everything you have, it all comes from me." I looked up at him, suddenly seeing with perfect clarity the choice before me, his truth or mine. 3 days after Ryan's exile, I sat in Father's executive boardroom, surrounded by men twice my age who treated every word from his mouth like gospel. The morning sun caught the edge of my coffee cup, still untouched, while Father's presentation on quarterly projections droned on. "The Phase 3 trials for Neuroxin show promising results," he announced, clicking through slides of charts and graphs. "Chelsea will oversee the final stages of testing." My head snapped up. Across the table, Tom's jaw tightened, his knuckles white around his pen. "Uncle Mark," he interrupted, "given my experience with the previous trials..." "Chelsea has the necessary qualifications," Father cut him off. "And more importantly, my trust." The words hung there, a calculated display of favoritism that made my skin crawl. I knew what this was, punishment for Tom's support of Ryan at the gala, Father's way of tightening the leash on us all. The meeting dragged on, but my mind kept returning to Ryan's text about those trials. The email he'd mentioned still sat unopened in my inbox, like a loaded gun I wasn't ready to handle. "Chelsea," Father's voice pulled me back. The room had emptied except for us. "The tech conference in San Francisco next week. I want you there." "That's Tom's territory," I said carefully. "He's been handling our tech partnerships for years. And now you will." He straightened his tie, a gesture I'd seen thousands of times. "Tom lacks vision. The company needs someone who understands legacy." "You mean someone who won't question you?" His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Careful, Chelsea. Don't mistake my patience for weakness. Ryan made that error." The threat was clear. I gathered my papers, but his next words stopped me cold. "Oh, and have security sweep your office. Someone's been accessing confidential files about the Neuroxin trials." My pulse quickened. "Worried about more environmental activists?" "No." He studied me. "Just ensuring family loyalty remains intact." I escaped to my office, hands shaking as I finally opened Ryan's email. Attached were hundreds of documents, clinical trial results, internal memos, buried reports. My eyes caught phrases that made my stomach turn. Severe neurological complications, suppressed findings. Projected profit margins justify accelerated approval. A knock startled me. I slammed my laptop shut as Aunt Sophie sauntered in, her Hermes scarf a splash of calculated casualness. "Darling," she purred. "Such dedication, working through lunch. You're becoming just like your father." Was there something you needed? She perched on my desk, a move she'd perfected to assert dominance while appearing casual. "Just checking on my favorite niece. That tech conference will be quite the challenge. Tom's so disappointed. I'm sure he'll survive. Oh, he will. We always do. She examined her manicure. You know, Chelsea, power is such a fickle thing. Today's heir apparent can become tomorrow's cautionary tale. Just ask your brother. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Regarding neuroxin trials, have more evidence. Meet tonight? Sophie's eyes narrowed at my screen. I turned it face down, but her smile told me she'd caught enough to be dangerous. Well, she stood, smoothing her designer dress. I should let you get back to work. Those trials won't oversee themselves. She paused at the door. Oh, and Chelsea, do be careful with your correspondence. Walls have ears, especially in this building. After she left, I stared at the text message, my finger hovering over the reply button. The neuroxin documents felt like they were burning through my laptop. Father's threats echoed in my head. Sophie's warning hung in the air. My phone buzzed again. Time sensitive, lives at stake, please. I thought of Ryan, somewhere out there fighting for what he believed in. Thought of Father's carefully constructed empire, built on buried secrets and broken lives. Thought of the choice he'd forced on me in his office. Taking a deep breath, I typed, "Where and when?" The response came immediately. "Tonight, 8 p.m., Pier 39, come alone." Come. I deleted the conversation, knowing I'd just stepped onto a path I couldn't retreat from. Outside my office, I heard Tom's voice speaking urgently to someone. Sophie's heels clicked down the hallway. Father's empire hummed around me, a machine fueled by power and secrets, and I was about to throw a wrench into all of it. The ring felt heavy on my finger as I stood in Father's study, my hand intertwined with Ethan's. The antique grandfather clock ticked away seconds that felt like hours. Mother perched on the edge of her chair, while Sophie lounged against Father's desk with practiced nonchalance. "A tech startup," Father said finally, rolling the words around his mouth like spoiled wine. "And what exactly does your company do, Ethan?" "We're developing sustainable energy solutions," Ethan replied, his voice steady. "Our latest project could revolutionize—" "Fascinating," Sophie cut in. "Almost as fascinating as your modest background. Public school, community college, working-class parents." "Aunt Sophie," I warned. But she continued. "I'm simply pointing out that certain adjustments might be necessary. The Stewart name carries expectations." Father stood, moving to the window that overlooked our manicured gardens. "Chelsea understands those expectations. Don't you, dear?" The weight of unspoken threats hung in the air. I thought of the neuroxin documents, of my secret meeting at Pier 39 last night, of the whistleblower, a former researcher named David, who'd shown me evidence that could destroy everything Father had built. Actually, I straightened my spine. I need to tell you something else. Mother's eyes widened. She knew that tone, the same one Ryan had used before his exile. "I'm leaving Stewart Pharmaceuticals." The silence that followed was absolute. Even the grandfather clock seemed to hold its breath. "To join Ethan's company?" Tom's voice dripped with mock concern as he appeared in the doorway. "How romantic." "To start my own consultancy," I corrected, "focusing on ethical business practices and corporate responsibility." Father turned slowly from the window. "Is that so?" "Yes. And there's something else you should know about the neuroxin trials." The crystal tumbler in Father's hand shattered against the wall, inches from my head. Mother gasped. Ethan stepped forward, but I held him back. "You ungrateful child." Father's voice was deadly quiet. "Everything I've built, everything I've sacrificed. Was it worth it?" I pulled out my phone, displaying the documents David had given me. Worth hiding the deaths, the brain damage, worth buying off the families and threatening the researchers? Sophie's perfectly maintained composure cracked. "You've been meeting with David. You knew?" I turned to her, pieces clicking into place. "Of course you did. You all did." "Chelsea," Mother stood, reaching for me. "You don't understand." "I understand perfectly." I backed away from her touch. Ryan was right about everything. "Ryan was weak," Father spat. "Just like you're being weak now. That boy has poisoned your mind with his idealistic nonsense. That boy is your son." The words exploded from me. "And Ethan is my choice, my future. If you can't accept that, then what?" Tom stepped closer, his smile razor sharp. "You'll expose the company, destroy thousands of jobs, ruin your own family?" "Family?" I laughed, the sound harsh and foreign. Is that what we are? Because from where I'm standing, we're just pawns in his game of legacy and control. Father moved with surprising speed, grabbing my arm. You will not throw away everything I've built for some middle-class nobody with delusions of changing the world. Mark! Mother's voice cracked like a whip. Let her go! But it was Ethan who stepped between us, his presence calm but unmovable. Take your hands off her. The room froze. Nobody had ever dared speak to Father that way in his own house. Get out! Father's voice trembled with rage. Both of you. If you walk out that door, Chelsea, don't ever come back. You'll have nothing. No money, no connections, no family. I looked at Mother, saw the tears in her eyes, at Sophie's triumphant smirk, at Tom's calculating gaze, finally at Father, this stranger wearing familiar features, twisted by power and pride. I already have nothing, I said quietly, removing my family ring, because everything you gave me came with chains. I placed the ring on his desk, took Ethan's hand, and walked toward the door. Behind me, I heard Mother's soft sob, Sophie's sharp intake of breath, Tom's derisive chuckle. Chelsea, Father's voice stopped me at the threshold. If you do this, if you expose those documents, I will destroy him. His eyes fixed on Ethan. Everything he's built, everything he hopes to build, I will burn it all to the ground. I turned back one last time, meeting his gaze. Then I guess we'll burn together. Our new apartment felt impossibly small after the Stewart mansion, but watching Ethan cook dinner in our tiny kitchen, I felt something I'd never experienced in that gilded cage. Peace. Your mother called again, he said, stirring pasta sauce. Third time this week. I deleted the voicemail without listening. Any word from the investors? Meeting tomorrow. He hesitated. Tom showed up at our office today. The wooden spoon in my hand snapped. What did he want? To invest. Said he's looking to diversify his portfolio away from pharmaceuticals. Ethan's voice remained neutral, but his shoulders tensed. Mentioned some concerns about Stewart Pharma's stability. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. A news alert about Stewart Pharmaceuticals. The headline made my blood freeze. FDA launches investigation into Stewart Pharmaceuticals following multiple deaths. Chelsea? Ethan moved closer, reading over my shoulder. They rushed Neuroxin to market, I whispered, even after what David showed us about the trials. My phone exploded with messages. Mia sent links to more articles. Ryan texted from his environmental activist compound. Even Sophie, of all people, sent a cryptic, "We need to talk, urgently." A knock at our door made us both jump. Through the peephole, I saw Mother standing there, looking nothing like the polished society wife I'd grown up with. Her hair was disheveled, her designer clothes wrinkled. Please, she said through the door. 5 minutes. Ethan squeezed my shoulder. Your choice. I opened the door. Mother rushed in, clutching her tablet. Have you seen the reports? Tom's been falsifying safety data, pushing through approvals without proper testing. Your father, he's not well. The board is meeting tomorrow to discuss removing him. And you came here because? Because Sophie and Tom are making their move. They're using this crisis to take control of the company. She pulled up internal emails on her tablet. Look, they've been planning this for months. The Neuroxin scandal, the FDA investigation, they orchestrated all of it. Why should I care? I'm out. Done. Remember? Because people are dying, Chelsea. Her voice cracked. Real people. And because Tom's next target is Ethan's company. Ethan stepped forward. The investment offer. Mother nodded. It's a hostile takeover attempt. They'll use Stewart Pharma's remaining resources to absorb your company, then strip it for parts. They're desperate for cash after what they've done to the family business. My laugh sounded hollow. Karma's a bitch, isn't it? Chelsea, Mother grabbed my hands. I know what your father did was unforgivable, but this isn't about him anymore. Tom and Sophie will destroy everything in their path, including the good work you and Ethan are trying to do. My phone buzzed again. David, the whistleblower. Need to meet. Have proof of Tom's involvement in patient deaths. Not safe to talk here. I can't get involved, I said, but the words felt weak even to me. I walked away. Did you? Mother's eyes were shrewd. Or are you just waiting for the right moment to strike back? Ethan moved to the window, watching the street below. We've got company. Black SUV, tinted windows. Been there since your mother arrived. Mother's face paled. They followed me. I'm sorry, I didn't think. Who's they? I demanded. Tom's new security team. Ex-military. They've been watching all of us since the FDA announcement. My phone lit up with another message, this time from Ryan. Don't trust Mom. It's a trap. Call me. I looked at Mother, really looked at her. The dishevelment seemed too perfect, the timing too convenient. Why are you really here? She met my gaze steadily. Because sometimes the only way to protect what you love is to destroy what threatens it. She stood, smoothing her wrinkled clothes with suddenly steady hands. You're not the only one who's been playing a long game, darling. The pasta sauce burned on the stove, filling our tiny apartment with acrid smoke. Outside, car doors slammed. Mother's phone chimed with a text, and for a split second, I glimpsed the sender's name, Sophie. Choose quickly, Chelsea, Mother said, moving toward the door. Tomorrow's board meeting will change everything. Question is, which side of history do you want to be on? She left us standing there, the smoke alarm shrieking overhead, as multiple sets of footsteps echoed up the apartment stairs. Ethan grabbed my hand, his expression grim. Back door? He asked quietly. I squeezed his hand, thinking of David's evidence, Ryan's warning, Mother's subtle threat, and Tom's approaching thugs. No, we stopped running. It's time to fight fire with fire. The footsteps grew closer. The cream-colored invitation sat on our kitchen counter like a loaded gun. Father's 60th birthday celebration, printed in gold leaf, as if luxury could mask manipulation. I'd been staring at it for 3 days, while Ethan pretended not to notice my growing obsession. David's dead. Mia's voice crackled through my phone. They're calling it suicide. The coffee mug slipped from my hand, shattering against the tile. Ethan's head snapped up from his laptop. When? Last night. Pills. But Chelsea, he sent me something first. Files. About Tom's involvement in the Neuroxin deaths. My hands trembled as I cleaned up the broken ceramic. Send them to me. Already did. But be careful. The detective mentioned surveillance footage of men entering David's apartment before... A sharp knock interrupted her. Through our apartment's thin walls, I heard Sophie's voice. Chelsea, we need to talk about your father's party. I have to go, I whispered to Mia, ending the call. Ethan moved closer. We don't have to open the door, but I was already moving, anger and adrenaline propelling me forward. Sophie stood in our hallway, looking expensive and dangerous in her Chanel suit. Darling, she air-kissed my cheek. This little experiment in independence is charming, but it's time to come home. Your father's not well. Funny timing. I kept my voice steady. Right after David's suicide. Something flickered in her eyes. Such a tragedy. Depression is a terrible thing. Is that what Tom's calling it? Her smile tightened. I don't know what you think you know. I know enough. I stepped closer. About the falsified trials, the covered-up deaths, the bribes. David showed me everything before you had him killed. Careful, Chelsea. Her voice dropped. Accusations like that could be dangerous. For everyone. Her eyes flicked to Ethan, still watching from the kitchen. Your father's birthday party, tomorrow night. Come alone. We'll discuss your concerns there. Is that a threat? It's an opportunity to protect what matters. She pressed something into my hand, a USB drive. Preview of tomorrow's board presentation. Tom's quite proud of his plan to acquire Ethan's company. Such innovative technology. Shame if something happened to it. My fingers closed around the drive. Get out. After she left, Ethan touched my shoulder. We could leave, start over somewhere else. They'd follow us. I plugged the drive into my laptop. Besides, I'm done running. Documents filled the screen. Acquisition plans, shell companies, evidence of corporate espionage against Ethan's firm. My phone buzzed with a text from Ryan. Got your message. Meeting set with environmental defense lawyers tomorrow. They're ready to move on the Neuroxin evidence. Another text arrived, from Mother. Whatever Sophie told you, don't trust it. Meet me tonight, alone. Ethan read over my shoulder. It's a trap. Everything's a trap. I stood, pacing our small living room. David's dead because he tried to expose them. They're coming for your company. Father's birthday party is just another power play, and I'm supposed to choose sides in their game. So don't play. That's not an option anymore. I showed him the latest news alert. Stewart Pharmaceuticals' stock plummets amid corruption allegations. Chelsea. Ethan's voice was gentle. Revenge won't bring David back. Or fix your family. This isn't about revenge, but even I heard the lie in my voice. It's about justice. Is it? He picked up Father's invitation. Because from here, it looks like you're letting them pull you back into their world, the world you fought so hard to escape. Before I could respond, my phone lit up with an email from Tom. Subject line, about tonight's accident. My blood ran cold as I opened the attached photo. Ethan's office building, smoke pouring from broken windows. The message read, electrical fire, such a shame. Tomorrow's party would be a good time to discuss preventing future accidents. Ethan's phone started ringing. His business partner, probably reporting the damage. He answered, moving to the kitchen, his face tight with controlled anger. I stared at Father's invitation, hearing Sophie's threats, seeing David's dead face in my mind. The USB drive hummed with dangerous secrets. My phone blinked with messages from Mother, Ryan, Mia, each pulling me in different directions, each hiding their own agenda. Tomorrow night, Father's birthday, the board presentation, environmental defense lawyers, all the pieces moving into place for a final confrontation. I'm going, I said when Ethan returned. Alone. Chelsea. They killed David. They're threatening you. This ends tomorrow. I picked up the invitation, feeling its weight like a death sentence. One way or another. The Stewart mansion loomed before me, its windows blazing against the twilight sky. Security guards prowled the perimeter, their earpieces glinting. Inside, Father's 60th birthday celebration was already underway. I clutched my small gift box containing a single USB drive loaded with David's evidence. My phone buzzed. Ryan's final warning. FBI raid scheduled for midnight. Get out before then. The guard at the door barely glanced at my invitation. Miss Stewart, they're waiting in the main hall. They certainly were. Sophie materialized first, her smile sharp as broken glass. Darling, you came alone. How brave. Where's Father? Preparing his speech. Tom's with him, reviewing the board presentation for tomorrow. She touched my arm, her fingers like talons. There's still time to choose the right side, Chelsea. I pulled away, scanning the crowd. Mother stood by the grand staircase, watching me with unreadable eyes. The room hummed with wealthy parasites, all pretending not to stare at the prodigal daughter's return. Chelsea. Father's voice cut through the murmur. He descended the stairs, Tom hovering at his shoulder. I wasn't sure you'd come. Happy birthday. I held out the gift box. Something to remember me by. His eyes narrowed as he opened it. The USB drive sat on black velvet, innocent-looking despite its lethal contents. What's this? Everything. The Neuroxin trials, David's evidence, proof of Tom's involvement in Careful. Tom stepped forward. You wouldn't want anything unfortunate to happen to Ethan's remaining assets. You mean like the fire you started? Father's hand closed around the drive. My office. Now. The study felt smaller than I remembered. Father sat behind his desk, Tom and Sophie flanking him like guard dogs. Through the window, I saw Mother in the garden, speaking urgently into her phone. You think you can destroy everything I've built? Father's voice was deadly quiet. With what? A dead man's desperate accusations? David had proof. David had theories. Tom smiled. And a convenient drug habit. No one will believe. The FBI will. I pulled out my phone, showing them Ryan's message. They're coming tonight, with warrants. The color drained from Father's face. Sophie grabbed the phone, reading quickly. It's a bluff. Try me. I moved toward the door. I should go. Let you prepare your statements for the press. Wait. Father's voice cracked. Please. I paused, hand on the doorknob. What do you want? He suddenly looked old, diminished. Money? A position on the board? Name it. I want justice. Justice? Tom laughed. You want revenge, because we didn't bow to your little romance with the tech boy, because Daddy didn't approve, because you killed people. The words exploded from me. Because you covered up deaths, threatened families, murdered David, and you're so innocent? Sophie's voice dripped venom. Show him, Tom. Tom pulled out his tablet, playing a video. My blood froze. Security footage of me meeting David at Pier 39, passing him an envelope. Bribing a whistleblower, Tom said softly. That's federal prison time. And look, the timestamp, the night before his unfortunate overdose. I didn't. Of course not. Father stood. But who will believe you? The bitter daughter, paying off employees to destroy her family's company? My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. David's evidence was fake. You've been played. Another message from Ryan. Mom says get out now. It's a trap. Too late. Security filled the doorway behind me. Tom's smile widened as he held up a document. The board voted an hour ago. Emergency measures to protect the company from internal threats. He pointed to Mother's signature at the bottom. Even your mother agreed. You're now officially classified as a hostile entity. You can't. We can. Father's voice was ice. Everything you own, every account, every contact, frozen. Your little consultancy? Shut down. Ethan's company? By morning, it'll be under our control. And if you try to fight it, Sophie added, that footage goes public. How long do you think Ethan will stand by you when he learns you got his friend killed? The room spun. Through the window, I saw Mother walking away, her shoulders stiff. My phone went dark, already disconnected. Happy birthday to me, Father said softly. Security will show you out. And Chelsea, don't come back, ever. I walked through the party in a daze, past whispers and stares. Outside, the night air hit like a slap. My car wouldn't start, disabled probably. In my purse, my credit cards would already be worthless. They'd taken everything. And worse, they'd made me the villain of the story. My phone had one last message from Ethan. Something's wrong. All our accounts are frozen. What's happening? I stared at the mansion, at the celebration continuing without me, and felt the last pieces of my old life crumble away. 3 days after Father's birthday party, Stewart Pharmaceuticals stock plummeted 90%. I watched it happen on Mia's laptop, since mine had been remotely wiped. The business networks buzzed with speculation about internal corruption, failed drug trials, and pending FDA investigations. They're saying Tom's gone missing, Mia said, scrolling through news alerts. Private jet to Switzerland last night. My burner phone vibrated. Ryan's latest update. Environmental Defense filing charges tomorrow. FBI moving in. Get to safety. You should go, I told Mia. Being seen with me isn't safe anymore. She closed her laptop. Neither is being alone. Ethan called again. He's worried. He shouldn't be. The company transfer papers were forged. His lawyers can prove it. That's not why he's worried. Before I could respond, my phone lit up with an unknown number. Mother's voice came through, breathless. Sophie's dead. The world tilted. What? Car accident. An hour ago. Mark. He's not making sense. He's in his office with a gun. Tom's documents. Chelsea, you need to come. Now. Why should I believe you? Because I have proof. About everything. David's death, the trials, the cover-ups. I've been gathering it for months. Please. I looked at Mia, who nodded grimly. I'll drive. The Stewart mansion's gates hung open. Security nowhere in sight. Mother met us in the foyer, her designer outfit wrinkled, mascara streaked. He's destroying everything, she whispered, leading us upstairs. After Sophie's accident, he found her files. She'd been documenting it all, every illegal decision, every threat. Insurance, she called it. Against what? Against him, against Tom, against anyone who tried to take her power. Mother's hands shook as she pulled out a USB drive. Including me. Gunshots exploded from Father's study. We rushed in to find him shooting his computer screen, papers scattered everywhere. Mark! Mother screamed. He turned, eyes wild. It's gone. Everything's gone. Tom transferred it all. Every account, every asset. That ungrateful snake. Put the gun down, I said quietly. He laughed, harsh and broken. Come to watch it burn, Chelsea? Your inheritance, your legacy? This stopped being about inheritance a long time ago. Did it? He gestured at the chaos around him. Then why are you here? To gloat? To finish what your brother started? I'm here because you're still my father. Father? Another harsh laugh. I'm nothing now. Tom made sure of that. Sophie made sure of that. You made our own choices, I finished. Just like you taught us. I taught you loyalty. You taught us power, I corrected. At any cost. Well, this is the cost. Mother stepped forward, holding up Sophie's USB drive. Mark, there's something you need to see. More betrayal? He raised the gun. Truth, she said firmly. About Sophie, about Tom, about why David really died. His hand wavered. What are you talking about? Sophie didn't have an accident. Mother's voice cracked. Tom arranged it, just like he arranged David's death, just like he's arranged everything since Chelsea left. The gun clattered to the desk. Father collapsed into his chair, suddenly looking ancient. Why? Because you taught him too well, I said softly. Power at any cost, remember? Mother plugged in the drive, pulling up documents. Tom's been embezzling for years. Sophie found out, threatened to expose him, so he eliminated the threat, just like he tried to do with Chelsea. Father stared at the screen, at the evidence of his legacy's true cost. Outside, sirens wailed in the distance. "They're coming," Mother said quietly. "FBI, SEC, everyone. Tom's gone, but they'll want someone to blame." Father picked up the gun again, his hand steady now. "I built this empire, and now you can choose how it ends," I said. "Running like Tom or facing it like a Stewart." He looked at me for a long moment. "When did you become so strong?" "When you forced me to choose between power and principle." The sirens grew closer. Father stood, straightening his tie one last time. "Lily, call our lawyers. Chelsea," he hesitated. "Take care of your brother, and that boy of yours." "What are you going to do?" He smiled sadly. "What I should have done years ago. Protect my family." As FBI vehicles swarmed the driveway, Father walked calmly downstairs to meet them, leaving his empire of shadows behind. Mother touched my arm. "It's over." But watching Father surrender, I realized it wasn't over. It was just changing shape, like all inherited sins do. The true cost of power was still being tallied, and somewhere in Switzerland, Tom was plotting his own revenge. Some legacies never die. They just wait for the next generation to claim them. The Stewart Mansion's auction drew a smaller crowd than expected. I watched from the garden as strangers picked through the remains of our legacy. Antique furniture, rare art, generations of carefully curated wealth reduced to lot numbers and bid cards. Mother appeared beside me, her designer clothes replaced by simple business wear. "The prosecutors offered your father a deal this morning." "And?" He refused, said the truth matters more than freedom now. She handed me an envelope. "He wanted you to have this." Inside was a single sheet of Stewart Pharmaceuticals' letterhead, bearing Father's precise handwriting. "I was wrong about power. It's not what we take. It's what we leave behind." The garden path crunched with approaching footsteps. Ryan, looking oddly formal in a suit, stopped short when he saw us. "The environmental defense team is ready," he said quietly. "They need your final statement." Mother squeezed my hand before walking away, leaving us alone among the roses she'd tended for decades. "Tom's been spotted in Geneva," Ryan continued. "Interpol's closing in." "Let them have him." I folded Father's note carefully. "We have more important work to do." Inside, the auction reached our father's prized art collection. Through the window, I watched Ethan examining the accounting ledgers with federal investigators, his integrity unchanged by the chaos around him. My phone buzzed. Mia, with news about the victims' compensation fund we'd established. The Neuroxen families would receive their first payments tomorrow. Not enough to heal their losses, but a start toward justice. "Chelsea." Mother's voice drew me back. She held out a small box. "I should have given you this sooner." Inside lay her grandmother's ring, the one she'd worn every day of her marriage. "I can't." "You can, because you understand what I never did. Power isn't in the wearing of it. It's in the choosing." The auction hammer fell on the last lot. In the driveway, reporters gathered for Father's final press conference, where he would confess to everything, not for immunity or mercy, but because truth had become his last remaining currency. Ethan joined us, his face grim. "They found Sophie's complete records. The board manipulation, the threats against David, everything. It goes back decades. And now it ends," I said firmly. "Does it?" Ryan gestured at the mansion. "Empires don't die quietly, Chelsea. They leave echoes." As if proving his point, my phone lit up with an anonymous text. "Greetings from Geneva. Family business isn't finished. T." I deleted it without responding. Tom's threats felt hollow now, like the mansion itself. All facade, no foundation. Mother touched the empty flower beds she'd never plant again. "What will you do now?" The question hung between us, heavy with unspoken weight. The compensation fund needed management. Father's confession would trigger more investigations. Somewhere in Switzerland, Tom plotted his revenge. But watching Ethan coordinate with the victims' lawyers, seeing Ryan's passionate work with environmental defense, feeling Mother's quiet strength beside me, I realized the answer had been there all along. "We rebuild," I said simply. "Not empires or legacies, something better. The Stewart name, isn't who we are anymore. I touched her grandmother's ring, feeling its weight. We're something new now. The auction crowd dispersed, leaving the mansion echoing with footsteps of departing strangers. Soon it would become something else, a museum, a school, a monument to power's cost. Father's note crinkled in my pocket as I took one last walk through the garden. The roses would bloom for new owners now. The paths would carry different feet. The legacy would fade like all things do. But standing there, watching Mother embrace Ryan, seeing Ethan's unwavering support, I understood Father's final lesson. Power wasn't in what we built or broke or avenged. It was in what we chose to grow instead. I left the garden gate open behind me, letting the past flow out like tide water. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Tom's threats, Father's trial, the endless work of making amends. But for now, this was enough. The truth unveiled, justice begun, and family redefined not by blood or legacy, but by the choices we made in Power's wake. Some would call it karma, others, justice. But as I walked away from the Stewart mansion one last time, I called it something simpler: freedom.